Stop. Put that tool down. You don't have a weed problem. You have a soil problem. And those weeds are the only thing trying to tell you what it is. Every single weekend, most gardeners throw away a free soil report. They just don't know how to read it yet. The plant at number 1 has been running a free fertilizer factory in your backyard, and you've probably been spraying it with herbicide. Here are 6 weeds, and exactly what each one is trying to tell you. Here's how this works. Every weed on this list shows up in a specific spot because your soil is missing something specific. For each one, I'm going to give you 3 things. What it's signaling about your soil, what it's already doing to fix that problem, and what you can harvest while you wait. That's it. Let's start at number 6. This one grows in the coolest, a most overlooked corner of your yard, and it's protecting your topsoil right now. Number 6, chickweed. That low green mat spreading across your beds in late winter? That's not a problem. That's a cover crop. Chickweed grows in rich, moist soil with poor drainage. Its presence tells you your topsoil is still intact, which means you're doing something right. Here's what it's doing for you. Chickweed forms a living mat that can reduce soil erosion by up to 87% compared to bare ground. It's a natural mulch, protecting your soil all winter while nothing else is growing. My grandmother used to toss chickweed into winter salads. Generations of foragers have done the same. It's sweet, crunchy, and packed with vitamins A, B, and C, plus iron and zinc. Just make sure you've got a solid ID before you harvest, and only ever pick from pesticide-free areas. Number 5 lives in the shady spots where nothing else will grow. And it's telling you something most soil tests miss entirely. Number 5, wood sorrel. Those little heart-shaped leaves with a lemony bite. They show up in shady, acidic soil, pH below 5.5, with serious calcium deficiency. Here's why it matters. Where your grass and garden plants struggle, in the acid corners, under the trees, wood sorrel shows up and holds the soil together. It accumulates calcium and phosphorus, stabilizing ground where beneficial soil bacteria can barely survive. And it's completely edible. That lemony taste comes from vitamin C, 52 milligrams per 100 grams. My grandmother used to add it to salads for a splash of brightness. We thought it was just a quirk. Turns out, she was onto something. So far, 2 weeds, 2 signals, both showing up exactly where your soil needs help, and both doing repair work for free while you sleep. But numbers 4 and 3, those aren't just signaling. They're carrying something the health food industry charges a premium for, and they're growing in your backyard right now. Number 4, Purslane. That low-growing succulent with the thick red stems. It's the highest plant source of omega-3 fatty acids you can find in any backyard. Purslane grows in soil that's rich in phosphorus but struggles to hold moisture. It's also telling you the ground was recently disturbed, tilled, compacted, or overwatered. But the real magic happens underground. Purslane acts as a living mulch. It may cool the soil surface by up to 8 degrees Fahrenheit, reducing heat stress on your plant roots. It uses a special water-saving photosynthesis process that protects the microbes your soil needs most during hot, dry spells. And the harvest bonus is one I didn't expect when I first learned about this. Purslane has 5 times more omega-3 fatty acids than spinach. 5 times. That's not a rounding error. It's a nutritional powerhouse hiding in your dirt. If learning to read your garden like this is helpful, hit subscribe. We decode nature's cheat codes every week. Number 3 is the one that really bothers me. because this weed only grows in one place, in soil that's already healthy and fertile, and most people pull it to prove they're good gardeners. Number 3. Lamb's quarters. That tall plant with the silvery, dusty-looking leaves. It only grows in rich, fertile, high organic matter soil. When you see lamb's quarters, your soil is already doing well. The plant is your proof. Think about that. People spend $30 on a soil test kit just to find out if their soil is healthy. And then they pull up the very plant that tells them it already is, for free. What it's doing in your soil: lamb's quarters accumulates iron, copper, and zinc from deep in the ground, concentrating them in its leaves. When it dies and decomposes, those minerals return to your topsoil, slowly rebalancing what was out of proportion. Many experienced gardeners harvest the whole plant. Lamb's quarters has more vitamin A than kale, more calcium than spinach, and 4.2 grams of protein per 100 grams, which is more than quinoa, a close relative of this plant. The young leaves can be steamed, sautéed, or added raw to a salad. Okay, we're at the top 2. And I need you to understand, numbers 2 and 1 aren't just signaling and producing. They're doing active soil repair that a machine cannot replicate, and they're doing it free of charge. Number 2, dandelion. I know, you've probably spent more time, money, and energy fighting this plant than any other thing in your yard. Here's why that was a mistake. Dandelion grows specifically in compacted soil. When your lawn gets dense and hard from foot traffic, heavy equipment, or years of tilling, dandelion moves in. It's not attacking your lawn, it's responding to it. And this is where it saves you money, permanently. The dandelion's taproot grows up to 20 inches straight down, physically boring through hard, compacted layers. It creates channels for air and water to reach your plant roots, and research from USDA shows this can improve soil water infiltration by up to 22%. And then it does something even more useful. That same taproot pulls calcium, potassium, magnesium, and iron from deep in the subsoil, minerals your grass roots can't reach, and deposits them in its leaves on the surface. When those leaves drop and decompose, those minerals go right back into your topsoil. The whole plant is edible. The young spring leaves are mild enough for salads and are rich in vitamins A, K, and C. The roots can be roasted as a caffeine-free coffee substitute. The flowers are rich in antioxidants, according to published phytochemical research. My grandmother made dandelion tea every single spring. We thought it was just her quirk. Turns out, she was ahead of the science. Take a quick guess. How many of these dandelions did you pull last year? Let me know below, because you're going to regret it in a second. Okay, number 1. I need you to actually stop and think about this. Because if you have this plant in your yard right now, you've been doing something that costs you money every single year, and you never had to. Number 1, white clover. The most sprayed, most pulled, most aggressively eliminated plant on the American lawn. And here's the truth. It grows there because your soil is nitrogen deficient. It moves in when your lawn is running on empty. But here's the part that changes everything. White clover doesn't just signal nitrogen deficiency. It fixes it through a partnership with soil bacteria called rhizobium. Clover converts atmospheric nitrogen directly into a form your plants can use, right in its root nodules, underground, for free. Research from the University of Arkansas Extension puts white clover nitrogen fixation at 100 to 150 pounds per acre per year. Synthetic nitrogen fertilizer runs around 55 cents per pound. Do the math. White clover can deliver the equivalent of $55 to $83 per acre per year in free nitrogen, year after year, without you doing a single thing. You've been killing your lawn's free fertilizer factory every spring with herbicide that you paid for. The flowers are one of the best nectar sources for pollinators. Your garden produces more when bees are around. The leaves and flowers are edible, high in protein and calcium. And clover is naturally drought-resistant, keeping your lawn greener in dry spells when grass goes dormant. So that's all 6. And here's the pattern. Not one of them showed up randomly. Every single one responded to a specific gap in your soil. And every single one started filling it the moment it arrived. Your weeds are a free soil report, and most gardeners throw it away every weekend. The laziest gardeners in history didn't pull weeds. They read them. Before you pull another weed this weekend, do one thing. Walk your yard for 5 minutes. Look at which of these 6 are growing and where. You just made a soil map for free. One that no test kit can personalize to your exact backyard the way this can. Then come back and tell me in the comments. What did you find? I'll tell you exactly what your soil is telling you, based on what's growing. Every yard is different. I want to see yours. And if you want to go deeper, there's a video right next to this one showing 8 crops that thrive right alongside these wild plants. 0 extra effort, just smarter planting. Click the video on your screen right now and let's get growing.